Hi everybody, Dacob here. Welcome back to the Fragrant Bunker. Finally, we are at that point in time where we are going to unbox from this gorgeous packaging and review and compare to the predecessor version. Chanel's latest Cristalle Eau de Parfum. And of course, we also have its predecessor, the Eau de Parfum, in this little monolith bottle. So let's get straight to it. There's a lot to talk about here. First and foremost, subscribe to my channel. If you haven't already, push the join button next to the subscription button. Become a member today. Gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. Superdacob all spelled together there as well for extra perks. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week on my main channel. Come join the fun, come join the live chats, and I have my co-chatters here with me right now. Hello, chat. Thumb up this video. All right, so this is the kind of holiday season packaging that Chanel gave out late 2023 for their 100 ml, also for the 50 mils, but it literally fits exactly perfectly. The 100 ml bottles, you know, for their classic perfume sprayers like Chanel No. 5 would be. And since Cristalle has been turned into that bottle now, they have redesigned it. It now fits perfectly in this container. And that's where it's going to stay. So I'm going to use this as its special box in the future as well, because it is the kind of first edition of the new version of Cristalle. So it's kind of cute that it comes in this package. Anyway, we digress. Let's open it. I'm going to open it from the top. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. And my opinion, you shall hear. I always leave the foil just, you know, over the box. But there it is, the birth. Ah, living ferret. So, I'm going to close this so I can show you how I then leave the plastic foliage around the box, and then I just slide it back in. And there you go. And it's going to go back into its little container. Let's read the ingredients in the back. They have not changed. You can check out my other video about this perfume before I actually smelled it. I was reviewing the design of the packaging. The ingredients in the back for the Eau de Parfum do not list tree moss or oak moss. The Eau de Toilette still lists both. The Eau de Parfum never had tree moss or oak moss in it, really. So that has not changed. Now, the bottle difference, both are 100 ml. In the past, you could also get a 50 ml spray bottle of Cristalle Eau de Parfum, but they discontinued the 50 ml. They only kept the 100 ml. Then at a certain point, they took these silver lines that are on the edge of the plastic lid. They took those off and just left it all black and added a double C stamp up there in silver. So that was kind of the last iteration of Cristalle Eau de Parfum in this bottle. Now we have this bottle. So it looks like Chanel No. 5 Eau de Parfum. And here you have them side by side. They are a similar shade of yellow. I want to say the same almost. This is a slightly fresher batch than this one, obviously. This is a 4701 and this is a 9101 batch. So there's a couple of years in between them. And for the fact that there's a couple of years in between them, almost 5 years in between them, this one has not kind of darkened that much. So you can see that the color here has not really changed for this new version. Of course, I will bear in mind the age difference between the two. I also am very well aware of how this smelled when it was brand new, so we're not going to have any issues there when we compare the two. So let me spray this one on. It already smells a little bit through the sprayer. I'm gonna prepare my 2 sleeves here. It's such a beautiful bottle with a sticker. I love. Listen, of course, tradition. We love this one, but I really love Cristalle in this bottle. Personally, I think it loses a bit of character because it had its own bottle design, which is actually the same bottle as Coco Eau de Toilette. But something about it getting this bottle kind of legitimizes it in a special way. It elevates it to that status of like, hey, this perfume is as good as Chanel number 5. Like, we're not going to discontinue it. You know what I mean? They've given Cristalle the bottle. And once you've given a Chanel perfume the bottle, there's no going back. You know what I mean? Now it has the Chanel number 5 bottle, so it is kind of immortalized forever. So, here goes. Citrusy and plump from the get-go. Sparkling aldehydes. Very, very, very floral, citrusy, aldehydic from the get-go. I sprayed it like 5 times-ish. This one we're not going to do as much because it is, well, let's see. Actually, let this one settle just for a second longer. It's it's dreamy. It's soapy. It's almost kind of closer to Auvert, Cristalle Auvert. Like, we understand more now why Auvert is a flanker of Cristalle. Cristalle Eau de Parfum was developed by Jacques Polge. The Eau de Toilette was Henri Robert's last perfume for Chanel. Auvert is also Jacques Polge, right? So the Eau de Parfum Cristalle was released in the 90s. Auvert was released in the early 2000s, and Auvert is the flanker to the Eau de Parfum of Cristalle. And it makes sense because now Olivier Polge, with his version of Cristalle Eau de Parfum, Chanel states that it's the same perfume as it was before. But let's see. Wait, hold on, let me also flip. I got too many things over there. Let's just do 3. Yeah, because this one... I'll do 1 more. Okay. So bearing in mind that we got like 4 to 5 years difference between these two. Hold on, let me close this. So this one is on this hand. This one is on this hand. The predecessor is sharper. Slightly more pungent, to the point, and has a very, very defined and clear memory of what used to be the 90s version of Cristalle, which had a clear memory of what used to be the 70s version of the Eau de Toilette of Cristalle. So this one echoes the 70s. It's such a beautiful chypre. Even though it's much more tame than the Eau de Toilette version by Henri Robert, which was released in the 70s with all the oak moss. This one never had oak moss in it, not listed on the ingredients list, while the Eau de Toilette does. Nevertheless, in the 90s, this was the modernized version of Cristalle, of the 70s Cristalle, for the 90s, which had echoes of the 70s. Now, in 2023, well, you know, I'm reviewing this perfume in 2024. but it was released in 2023. It has an echo of what Cristalle used to be in the 90s, but it's missing the 70s. You see what happened here? Olivier Polge has this tendency to soften and warm up Chanel fragrances. When he got to reintroduce the Les Exclusives as Eau de Parfums into the collection and the Eau de Toilettes were discontinued, his dad, Jacques Polge, with Christopher Sheldrake, introduced the Eau de Toilettes, the Les Exclusives Eau de Toilettes, which had a very sharp crystalline, glass-cold aspect to them. Back in 2016, when they were discontinued in favor of the Eau de Parfums which were curated and developed by Olivier Polge, they were introduced as warmer versions of the Les Exclusives fragrances. It took me a long while to get used to it because that fluffy, fuzzy warmth, which Olivier is kind of more known for, doesn't suit very well every Chanel perfume. In fact, the Les Exclusives, once they were introduced in 2016 as Eau de Parfums, some of them just did not work for me. Sycamore was really the biggest example of how terrible. Bel Respiro was also awful to my nose. Then things changed throughout the years. You know, a lot of years passed from 2016 to 2023. By 2022/2023, Sycamore, for example, was reformulated, the Eau de Parfum. And now, to me, the latest batches of Sycamore Eau de Parfum smell closer to what the Eau de Toilette used to be. But that wasn't the case in 2016 when Sycamore was first introduced as an Eau de Parfum after its Eau de Toilette predecessor was discontinued. So fascinating things happen. Things evolve and change. What we're seeing happen now with Cristalle Eau de Parfum is an Olivier Polgification of Cristalle Eau de Parfum that his dad did. This is Jacques, this is Olivier. They're very, very close to each other. Really very close, but this one is more tame. It's kind of like when we smelled Olivier Polge's number 5 L'Eau, right? Our new interpretation of Chanel number 5. Beautiful. I love number 5 L'Eau. Don't get me wrong. But it's an orangey, citrusy, warm accord of Chanel number 5, you know. The opposite of what the Eau de Toilette of Chanel number 5 is, like a beautiful, cold-hearted, floral masterpiece. Now we have Cristalle Eau de Parfum. That is softened down. I would be careful to say simplified. I would not say that this one is simplified. It's still way more sophisticated than most perfumes out there, really. It's a smidge less sharp, you know, it's slightly fuzzy and warm. Interesting also how the olfactive family has been slightly inverted because this version was kind of denominated as earthy, woody, mossy, while this one is denominated main accords as white, floral, floral, green. Very different. And it also lists citruses and fruity notes in the top, and then hyacinth, honeysuckle in the mid, and then iris and jasmine in the base notes, while this one has mandarin orange in the top notes, melon, jasmine, peach, ylang ylang in the mid notes, oak moss and vetiver in the base notes, even though, I repeat, no oak moss is listed on the ingredient list for the Eau de Parfum. But you can see how it's been kind of simplified in a way. The beauty of this one is that, and Jacques Olivier Polge, he, just like Dominique Ropillon, he knows his white florals. In fact, with Dominique Ropillon, he did together Pure Poison for Christian Dior, a majestic white floral gardenia. Love the OG version of Pure Poison. What is happening here, it's become a white floral version of Cristalle. It's, to the untrained nose, I have been a collector of Chanel perfumes for decades. I love their fragrances. I've been a fan of Cristalle for decades. So after having smelled so many different batches of Cristalle, both Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum and Eau Verte, I am susceptible to sniffing out even the smallest differences between batches, right? After so many years. So to the untrained nose, these two could appear almost the same, but they're not. This one has that edge of going into the floral, into the white floral realm of Olivier Polge. So it's softer, it's more white, it's more airy, it's more breezy, it's more up there, right? While the predecessor is more earthed, it's more down here, it's more based and rooted. The wet soil and the humidity of the air kind of strengthens the scent and makes that soil emanate its smell from the ground up. While this version of Cristalle, it's more like from the heavens. It's kind of coming from up there as a little delicate mist falling onto us. So it's in the air while this one is on the ground. It's a fruity white floral now. And it's beautiful. It really is. You know, in the past, I always preferred the Eau de Toilette of Cristalle to the Eau de Parfum, you know, always. Henri Robert's Eau de Toilette from the 70s, for me, always comes first before the Jacques Polge 90s version Eau de Parfum, always. It's the melon for me that irks me in here. Always has and always will. You know, never say never. You know, you can always change your opinion. Your nose evolves and all of a sudden something smells better to you than it did before. But I have the feeling that now in this version, that element for me has been corrected. Not that there was anything wrong with the predecessor. Absolutely not. It's divine. But just to my nose, this thing has become breezier, beautifully airy, like fresh white cotton or linen sheets, you know, damp, but hanging outside in the backyard and kind of, you know, moving in the wind. And there's a sunny day and they're like slowly drying in the wind, and you pass through them and you catch a whiff of the drying sheets. That's how beautiful this thing smells now to me. Just my personal opinion. Slightly humid and wet, still damp. This is still humid and wet and damp, but it's in the air. It's up there. This is also humid and damp, but it's soily. It's on the ground. It's very much on the ground. So they're both really beautiful. But as much as I prefer the older version of the Eau de Toilette to the newer version of the Eau de Toilette, and you can check out my review to find out all the details about the Eau de Toilette Cristalle. I have reviewed it a couple of weeks ago, also on my channel. So unlike the Eau de Toilette, where I prefer the predecessor to the new one, here with the Eau de Parfum, I'm very pleasantly surprised, and it's very unexpected. I actually really like the new one quite a bit. Like, I'm only going to say I like the new one more than the old one, only because now I can really wear this one a lot and enjoy it. I prefer the heft of the older one and the depth of it, but that heft and depth was what didn't make me gravitate towards it, because I always had, the eau de toilette that I prefer. And I would always spray on the eau de toilette because why not? It's better than eau de parfum, in my humble opinion, right? Now they're competing on a more fair level, I feel, the eau de toilette with eau de parfum, the current versions. And I will be using the eau de parfum, you see. Linda is asking me, do you smell fresh cut grass? Yes, I do. It is a very, very, very... When you inhale this perfume, of all of the nuances that it brings, the facets and the fanned out spectrum of olfactive memories that it kind of triggers, for a split second, you get fresh cut grass. It's there. It's not so much there in the older version. And it's also slightly more powdery now. The honeysuckle, jasmine, the iris note, that there's an irisy, soft powderiness that covers that grass. It is very beautiful. It's delicate. Okay, this one is a little bit more aggressive. This one is a little bit more in your face. This one is subtle. People will complain, oh, they watered it down. Although I gotta say, yes, I just unboxed this fresh bottle with you guys, but I have tested it out before with the testers in the boutique several days in a row. So this is not the first time I'm sniffing it. And it did last on my skin. I did not become anosmic to it so quickly. I did get I got wafts of it even 6 hours into spraying it on, which is really, really good for a perfume of this kind. And it's beautifully clean. It's beautifully airy, breezy, clean. And yes, you get that smidge of cut grass. I love it now. I really, really do. I love this one as well. But like I said, this one, hefty. I think it's just personal preference at this point. If you were a huge lover of the predecessor, of course, you're going to be like, oh, what the hell did they do to it now? But for a person like me, and I'm very critical with my Chanels. If there's something that I don't smell, that doesn't smell right to me, I will say it. So I'm really actually happy, very pleasantly surprised that this thing is working for me. It's become, dare I say, I know this is terrible to say, noble. Aristocracy and all that jazz. Terrible, actually. But it's become more noble, more refined. It's so smooth now, Before, it was more sharp corners. It was more edgy. And if you're into that, perfect. Then hunt down your vintage bottles. What can I tell you? I love how clean this thing is. So beautifully clean, so beautifully linear, and it caresses me in a good way. It soothes me, It doesn't provoke me. It doesn't tempt me. There are some perfumes that they're wonderful because they tempt you, and you love them because they tempt you and you tempt each other. And I have perfumes like that as well in my collection. When I am feeling that type of way, there are certain perfumes that I wear because they are challenging emotionally, psychologically. intellectually even. But I would, in the past, I never gravitated towards Cristalle as that perfume for me. I would choose other perfumes as the challenging ones, right? And I always, I guess, missed the suaveness of Cristalle Eau de Parfum. And now we got it, you know, and this current version for me is just so beautifully inviting. But it's really just a personal preference. It's just a personal preference. I personally prefer this one to the predecessor because it invites me in a beautiful way. It does not yell at me. It does not in any way, shape, or form screech at me. A lot of people are going to say, well, that's the beauty of Cristalle. It's like throwing a crystal at you, like a chunk of crystal, like a beautiful crystal vase or ashtray, because it used to have an ashtray accord, right? The famous Coco Chanel ashtray, which the Eau de Toilette still has. And I adore the Eau de Toilette because of that dry hyacinth, drenched in vetiver, drenched in oak moss. Today's Cristalle in the world of today is no longer a smoker. So there's no more ashtray accord here in the Eau de Parfum. It's a fruity floral accord now. It's a white floral accord with green grass, green vibes. Hyacinth is there, jasmine, iris, honeysuckle. Now I'm warming up the, hold on. Yeah. So usually I kind of exhale hot air out of my nose and then I pop the molecules and then I inhale and you get the idea of the base notes of the perfume. Much more floral now. You get that very, very defined iris and jasmine, and they bloom so majestically. Really beautiful, delicate, sophisticated. Oh, it belongs in this bottle. It belongs now in this bottle. Like now it's like it's joined the cult of Chanel perfumes. And a lot of people are going to be anti that because it's like, oh, you're homogenizing everything. Like nothing has its own character anymore. Usually that's a bad thing. Yeah, I agree. Not in this case. This one is beautiful wearing the cloak of streamlined Chanel. So beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Great job. You did a great job, Olivier, or whoever was. I don't know if Olivier did it. You know, a lot of perfumers work under these big perfumers and you never get to hear their names. Just the main perfumer gets all the credit. So we don't really know who really did this. Whoever did. I'm obsessed with this green note in here. That's also irisy and sweet, but also cool at the same. It's really good. Really, really good. Who would have thought? You know, that I would kind of. I'm tempted. I don't want to say because I always prefer the Eau de Toilette to the Eau de Parfum of Cristalle. But of the two current versions of Cristalle that we have, the new ones, I'm not talking about Eau Verte yet. We're going to review the new Eau Verte as well soon. But between the Eau de Toilette, the new Eau de Toilette, and the new Eau de Parfum, I'm kind of gravitating more towards the new Eau de Parfum. While in the past, I would always gravitate towards the Eau de Toilette. There you have it. There's a certain innocence to this thing. What I find so beautiful about it is that it has lived. It has been hurt and scarred. It carries really hefty luggage and weight with itself. But yet it's not giving up on love. And it doesn't want to give up on its innocence. It's been hurt, but it remembers its innocence. It remembers the time of innocence. And it still knows, or it learned, how to grasp onto it, how to hold on to that innocence. And it doesn't want to hurt anybody around it. It quite rather wishes to emanate that safety net, that innocence to others, and let others know that they can preserve that innocence despite the fact that they've been hurt and scarred and traumatized in the past. So it's a very, very beautiful fragrance that you smell in here the pain. But its character has moved on. The character in this movie is like from the Golden Girls. It's like Rose Nyland. If you know Betty White's portrayal of Rose Nyland, she can be ditzy, klutzy, clumsy, naive, innocent. But then when there's a real conversation going on with Rose Nyland and the other characters, or when we see her in one of those rare instances when we have a flashback to her past in St. Olaf, when Charlie passed away and she was all alone, there's this wonderful episode in which Betty White deserved all the accolades she got for that episode, and she's portraying a widow in her home in St. Olaf alone without Charlie. Now, up until that moment, we were used to seeing Rose Nyland as this naive, innocent character, no matter how old she would get. She just exudes happiness and innocent vibes. And then, all of a sudden, we get to see her all alone in a flashback in her home in St. Olaf, celebrating Charlie's birthday. Well, her birthday. He's not there anymore, but it's her birthday, but she made a cake for him and her, and she's talking to him, even though he's no longer there. And she has a lump in her throat, and she's about to cry. And I mean, I get goosebumps just remembering this scene. Betty White delivered. We realize in that moment, oh, she's not innocent. Oh, she's not ditzy or clumsy. Quite the opposite. But she has seen so much in her life, and she has gone through so much in her life that she is now at a point where she can let go. She's not holding on to the bitter. She's not holding on to the grief. She's not holding on to the anger. She's one of those rare pearls and angels that has let go of all of that and doesn't want anybody around her to feel any of that. Quite the contrary, she wants everybody around her to feel that joy and blissful innocence that makes life just that smidge better. This is Rose Nyland. Has the depth, but wants to make us feel good and happy. It never gives up on love. There you have it. Surprise, surprise. Didn't see this one coming. That positive. I wasn't expecting it myself, but it convinced me. And I am really, really thrilled with this one. So, yes, I recommend it. The new Cristalle Eau de Parfum. Let me know if you got yourself a new bottle of this, if you enjoy it, why you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, why you don't enjoy it. Do you prefer this one or this one? The older one or the newer one? Let me know down below. And I'll see you very, very soon in a new video with a new review. There's more Chanels to talk about because they keep churning out new ones. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for being a friend. you know, travel around the block and back again. Until next time, thumb up the video, subscribe, and never give up on love. Bye.